Hi, everybody, and welcome to this first episode of Season 3 of A Justice Seeking Church here at Shoreline Methodist Community. We ask the question of all of us in response to all that is going on in our world, all that's going on in our communities. What is mine to do? To help us start this Season 3, Rachel Lampard here is going to be here with us, sharing all that she's involved in across the whole of the Methodist Church. Rachel, really pleased that you're here to start us off again. How are you doing?
It's great to be back, Wayne. It feels like I've hardly been away.
Yes, it just keeps rolling on. So I know you've had an immensely busy summer and so much is going on. Can you just give us some of the updates, some of the highlights?
Yes, or lowlights. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it feels like, Injustice doesn't take a break for summer, does it? I'm afraid. So there are many, many things going on. And everybody will be aware of what's been going on in so many communities around the country with the growth of the protests that have been focused around migrants, around people who have been in asylum hotels. That has been something that has just risen up over the course of the summer. And it's been expressed in so many different ways. Some have been non-violent protests, some have been more violent. Alongside that, we've seen the Raise the Colour movement, where people have been raising flags. Some of that has been out of a desire for patriotic pride, like we have the flags, don't we, at the women's rugby recently.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But sometimes the flags are used in a more aggressive way to determine who is in and who is out. And that is often how it feels when you're travelling around the country. That use of the flags, and many people of colour have said that they felt that that's how the flags feel to them. This is an area that is not welcoming to you. So we've had this sense of unrest and real division building up in our society. So how have churches been responding to this? Well, many churches have been right on the front line, because so many churches work alongside asylum seekers. So many churches have welcomed asylum seekers and refugees and have been revitalised and have received so much from Christian asylum seekers, people who've discovered Christ and been welcomed into churches. That they've been there at the front line, but churches are also part of every single community, so have really experienced that hurt and that pain that is going on in communities. So every church, I think, has been asking what's ours to do, and of course that begins in church, doesn't it? It begins with who we are as worshipping communities. It begins with what we preach and what we teach and how we pray, and whether we can confront the injustices that we see around us, that we experience in ourselves, that tension, that tearing apart that we experience in ourselves sometimes in our preaching. Then there are resources on the Methodist Church website and the Joint Public Issues team, Politics in the Pulpit, weekly looking at the lectionary to help give preachers that confidence to know how to lead and to preach about a God of justice. When we're at the front, we have that God-given responsibility for preaching. But then there's also that challenge, isn't there, Wayne, of what churches do in community, and it has to start with relationship. You have to start with the relationships that we already have with churches, with people of other faith, with statutory agencies, and start there. Build those relationships, deepen those relationships. Some churches have been targeted, and some churches have been able to offer support. So they've been able to do different things. Some people have felt they wanted to go and take part in the counter protest, to make a stand, to make a statement, but you have to do that very carefully. Thinking of people who are in asylum hotels, many of whom may have come from crisis situations and be traumatized by conflict. if they see outside the hotels people shouting and in conflict together, that will re-traumatise them, and we really wouldn't want to add to that through our own protest. So some people have decided to try and find a third way, and to be a Christian presence at counter protests, to offer a prayer witness, or to invite people to a picnic, or to a community meal, or something that tries to be a Christian presence in a different way, to say this is how we live differently, to say all are welcome. And the Methodist Church has put out a short film recently using that really lovely hymn that we like to sing of all are welcome, and invited church communities just to send in a clip of themselves together saying all are welcome. And I was at a church in Stamford where we were welcoming the new co-chair of Methodist Women in Britain, who is from Zimbabwe. So the church was a wonderful mixture of people from Northampton district and people from the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe Fellowship saying all are welcome. So the film is this wonderful mashup of all these people saying all are welcome. It's a brilliant message. The challenge on us is to make sure that that is what people experience when they walk through our doors, and actually everybody is welcome. So in terms of what is ours to do, it depends so much on who we are and whether we feel in a place where we feel threatened, or where we feel comfortable and strong enough to be able to make a stand or to throw open the doors. It depends where we are in the country. It depends whether we're part of a church that is divided, because some churches will be divided, and therefore what our role is. But in all of these situations, there are resources on the Methodist Church website to help us to ponder and discern that question of what is ours to do to stand for justice at this difficult time for our country.
Yeah. I have a thing bubbling around in my mind at the moment, and it is love. Love is the answer. So what's the question? And just as you say, there is so much going on, and we always say, and Corin actually, when he was here in the summer, he talked about we've got to be careful. Ours isn't to do everything, but it is to do something. And so how do we do that? How do we discover it? And as you've rightly said, our geography, our circumstance, our situation actually will also dictate some of this. But it's just vital. In my words, my understanding of my faith, it is, how do I respond to the gospel message of love? I receive love, but I'm called to give love and be love. How do we do that? So, are you seeing glimpses of hope?
Yes, absolutely. We have seen churches step into quite difficult situations, make brave decisions about who they are in community. So offer community meals, for example, that are a safe place for refugees. We've seen churches try to bring different parts of the community together. So not being unwise and foolish and say, throw open the door to far right organisers, but say there are people in our communities who have, really different feelings about this. But actually, this is a place where everybody is our neighbour, and we recognise that people have all sorts of different problems and challenges, but this is a place where everybody can meet. So we are seeing all sorts of different places like this. And then we are seeing churches that are, as I say, on the front line and are just standing in that place and taking the brickbats and the treatment that they are getting there. And we need to pray for everybody involved, and we need to pray for the asylum seekers and the refugees, and also the people of colour who live in this country, are members of our churches, who feel threatened and frightened by what is going on. We just have to keep praying for them, and we keep having to pray for hope and love, as you say.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is there a way that we can support people? Is there some way that the connection is helping support people?
As I say, there are resources available on the website. We're also organising a webinar later in October, the 22nd of October, which is for people who are in places where protests have been happening. If you want to share your story, hear other people's stories, pray for each other, pray for justice for refugees. And if you'd like details of that, you can email justice@methodistchurch.org.uk and we'll let you know how to register for that. While all this has been going on, it's also been the season of creation. So from I was going to say from one end to the other, but nothing is separated.
No.
If we have a breakdown in the environment, if we have the climate crisis, it's going to increase. It is increasing the number of people who are having to seek a safe place to live. It's going to increase the number of people seeking refuge. It's absolutely crucial that we tackle the climate crisis. So in this season, churches have been considering creation. There have been churches that have been looking at green worship, which is lovely. So not just as a one-off, but ways in which we thread an attention to the God, the Creator, to creation, to our role, to our church's role, to the global role through our worship, and then also what we do in our churches and what we do to try and reach our commitment to being net zero churches, which is a massive commitment. We have the big goals. So in Yorkshire, churches have acted together, and 20 churches have recently finished their journey or taken huge strides on their journey towards decarbonisation in a really organised, strategic way. But around the country, so many churches have committed to taking that first step to being an eco-church. And it's on you and me as well, because this is about how we live our lifestyles and the decisions that we take as well. So it's not just a Sunday thing, it's strategic as well, but also how the decisions that we take about our lifestyle. And creation time is a really good time just to remind ourselves of that calling that we have.
Yeah. And as you say, it's what we do with these things. My church in Exmouth, we're doing a building project, and we have just agreed and decided we'll not put gas back onto the site. That our whole energy will be regenerative.
Yes.
Rachel, I'm so pleased that you've been able to sort of kick us off again. I know, and actually, let's finish a little bit here. You've I believe you've just been to the Labour Party conference.
I have, yes. That was fascinating. I was invited to be the preacher at the Labour Party conference service. So the conference begins with a service organised by Christians on the left. Christian MPs come to that, Christian members of the conference, and they have a preacher every year. I was invited to be the preacher this year, which was terrifying. It was a wonderful honour, and the Bible passage this year was Dives and Lazarus, which was a wonderful challenge about how we take seriously God's call, God's bias to people who are in poverty. But it was also Jeremiah's decision to buy land and to seal up the deeds and to save them, even though he was besieged and Jerusalem was facing defeat and exile. So it was about how we, in the face of everything around us, all the injustices, we know that God's promises are true, and how we embody that hope in all that we do. In everything that we are doing, we are living today, but we know that God's promises are already enacted.
Yeah, brilliant. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all you do, for your work, your passion, for prodding us, for poking us, but doing it in such a way that I truly hope inspires all that you encounter. So may you continue to do what you do. May you continue to spread this message that all are welcome, and in God there is love, there is hope. So yeah, on behalf of us all, thank you. This is just the start of season 3. We have loads of visitors, loads of guests. Hopefully you will be inspired. You truly have a job to do. We all have a job to do. So in God's love, with God's grace, let's keep finding and keep asking So, what is mine to do? See you next week.